mister. That's
Oh
a
no, not
mighty
you.
fine
Anyone
outfit you're
but
wearing.
you. Another month or two goes by, so comes another Sherlock Holmes game to review. Though the Testament of Sherlock Holmes kinda feels like the intended end for the series. At least the end of the universe Frogwares created. All the lessons learned from the previous games, barring Crimes and Punishments and onward, seem to culminate here and wrap up Holmes' storyline. Still, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start with the premise first. We open with... I want to say that these are children, but they look like something Chucky the doll would make. Actually, he'd be terrified of his creations. It's just these... kids playing around with Holmes memorabilia until they stumble onto one of Watson's memoirs.
I wish that I had seen through all your lies. Oh, start from the beginning, not the middle. And so I decided to pick up my pen to relate the most disturbing episode of my life thus far.
It all began early one morning in 1898, when Sherlock Holmes invited me to accompany him on a visit to the Marquis of Conyngham.
From here, we go through a couple of prologue mysteries which introduce us to Inspector Baines, Lestrade's placeholder, and to the Archbishop of Knightsbridge, who is currently dead. I'm sorry, but how is this rated M when Holmes vs. Jack the Ripper got away with a T? The goal becomes clear: find out who killed the bishop and bring him to justice. For the presentation, I have to talk about the settings, specifically the bloom. I have heard that overusing bloom in games is bad, but I never really understood why. Now though, I do. It's like all the light bulbs got marinated in lemon juice. You can turn this and any other settings off. At least for the in-game graphics. It's still present in cutscenes, you can't escape it. Still, everything else is all fine and dandy. It looks like the foundation for Crimes and Punishments. Graphics that simulate a bleak 1890s London with some graininess that adds to the style. It's not deprived of color though, at least with levels set in the daytime. It is leagues ahead of Jack the Ripper, and there's only a 3-year difference between the two. Yet, it is rougher than Crimes and Punishments, especially with low-res graphics simulating depth of field and occasional pop-in textures. The environments themselves probably boast the most variety of locations, even more than the sequels. You go from Marquis' house and a cathedral to searching through the green pastures of a neighborhood and the darkest depths of a prison that will soon be decommissioned. What surprised me most of all was our return to Whitechapel from Holmes vs. Jack. It is all one-to-one, down to the places you would frequent, such as the cobbler shop and the hospital. You can even find Old Man Solomonovich, though it's hard to tell which Solomon we keep seeing. It's strange since Holmes and Watson kind of act like they've never been there before, even though we can meet a character from that game. As for the character models, my expectations were low after seeing the Uncanny Children. Thankfully, most aren't like that. Holmes and Watson look much older, the latter more noticeably so. They've reached the peak of their lives at this point. Well, if you don't count Mystery of the Mummy. Other characters range from beautiful and detailed to looking like they were made via the Amazonian clay creation method.
Diana, you are the most precious thing in the world to me. I wished for you so much so I sculpted you from clay myself and begged Zeus to give you life.
They do have subtle facial expressions, but not as significant as those in Crimes and Punishments. It's more of a way to tell you that they're living beings. But I have my doubts. Talking about music, it's... there. It is well composed, but it's usually the same few tracks playing during gameplay. Hearing anything new will feel like living a jaded life until something shocks you back to life. A few may also be well-known pieces by the likes of Beethoven, which is probably why. The voice work is excellent, especially David Riley as Watson. This game would be his last debut as the titular Doctor, and it shows how aged his voice sounds compared to previous games.
After all these years of accompanying you upon your investigations, I thought that by now I should be reasonably capable of following your train of thought. But in this particular case, I must admit that I don't understand anything at all. Grant, treating those in need is a noble calling. You underestimate the importance of your work.
If you say so.
Though it now makes me question the change in actors for Crimes and Punishments since it's a prequel to the Testament. Maybe Watson got his tonsils removed back then or something.
It was still fun.
Didn't you sound different before?
I had a tonsillectomy.
For Holmes, Rick Simmons finally hung up the mantle. His replacement, Kerry Shale, actually sounds similar to Simmons and comes across as an older Guy Harris. He gives Holmes the presence that Simmons later lacked, while also sounding more mature and brash.
Reverend, when the inspectors of Scotland Yard find themselves at a dead end, which they quite often do, I assure you, then they turn to me for help. If you will allow us to continue our investigation, then you shall have the answers to all of your questions.
I volunteered because it's a calm post to be in. We don't get many visitors and it gives me time to write. Just like you, Dr. Watson. I enjoy literature and the...
Very good. Thank you.
There is an in-game explanation for his behavior, but that's for later. All the other characters are well voiced, but the one that sticks out to me is Hans Schielman, the eccentric scientist and poisoner who sounds like he can snap at any—
Never interrupt me! Where was I?
Oh yes, the bread.
How can you even do that? There's no room in your cell to jump that far. How? 9 out of 10 performance. My only complaint is that we don't hear more of Hans being insane. Gameplay is what you'd expect from the Awakened and onward. Looking around, using items, talking to people, etc. You have the usual first-person perspective and third-person point-and-click controls. Now though, you have a third option, which is what happened when the first and third decided to get married and have a baby. The camera is somewhat pulled back, and objects get highlighted when you're close to them. Besides that though, the mechanics and concepts are pretty much the same. The puzzles are actually manageable this time around. There were only a couple I needed walkthrough support for, but the others I figured out via trial and error. Much like Holmes vs. Jack, many of the puzzles were made to help solve the mystery. You'll examine clues, reconstruct crime scenes at times, and fill in a deduction board. Still, it's not as extensive or as in-depth as Holmes vs. Jack. Even the forensics minigame is just chemical Simon Says with math. Still, they ground you in the mystery, and a few ideas do make it into future games. All in all, it's pretty much the same thing we've been seeing for the past several games. It kind of feels like this is where they reached the peak of gameplay ideas before they began drastically changing things. Mostly, it's because adventure games like these are more dictated by the story itself, with gameplay added after the fact. It's not like the action-heavy genres or MMOs, where the gameplay is conceptualized before the story. The former has a great strength in this regard. It allows developers to tell a more compelling story and let those who just want a compelling story come along for the ride. Speaking of which, the story is weird. It takes the silver earring approach, where the player is more of an observer than in the detective's head. Still, there is enough information to let you form a hypothesis. Yet, my confusion came from Holmes himself. The case seems to change him in a very drastic way, and it's hard to tell whether the payoff for those changes was worth it. To dive deeper into these changes means spoilers. If you don't want that, just go to here for the conclusion. Okay, time to show just how much Holmes has changed. It's very apparent from the first investigation. Apart from being mutilated, it seems that the Archbishop tried to fight back, to the point of ripping off somebody's thumb with his own teeth. Further examination shows that he was infected by some kind of poison that causes hysteria, the leading expert being Hans Schielman. The Reverend won't let us do much without the police's help, so we casually blackmail him with some dirt we find.
I am a gentleman, and it would distress me to be obliged to pass this correspondence across to your superiors.
I know that Holmes has tied people's hands before, but it was usually to help an innocent person caught in the middle. This instance is straight up thuggery. After we get the evidence from there and examine it, 3 locations open up, and we could visit them in any order. I chose to go after the Archbishop's nephew first, who was the last to see him. He's disappeared, but we still find some substantial leads. Outside, it seems like somebody's been watching him. Inside, some puzzle solving indicates he went to a warehouse by the docks. We use Brave Toby to sniff out the nephew's trail before he makes a detour to catch a cat. When we catch up with the nephew, he somehow recognizes Holmes.
It's you! Stay away!
I want to talk to you. Don't be hysterical. Drop your gun.
I don't trust you! You're out to get me! Don't come any closer.
Well, that was the most violent Tom and Jerry bit ever. When that turns up nothing, we head to Whitechapel. A lot happens here, but a scalpel we found at the crime scene belongs to the all too familiar hospital ward, now headed by a friend of Watson's. Some rope that kept the Archbishop tied down indicates that the criminals have been working at Whitechapel's cemetery. It's there that they hid a box whose lock I had to look up a guide for. They might also have been working for the outdoor soup kitchen hosted by Prince Woodville. He seems like a pretty decent guy, even giving a shilling to Danny, the large lady whose presence I can't escape from. We follow their trail to find yet another gruesome death, this time involving dogs. This man is one of the intruders, but he seems to have gone mad, even attacking and eating the dogs. It may have been caused by something slipped into his opium, so we need to examine the body at the hospital ward. Though Watson's doctor buddy won't let us use it. So what's Watson to do?
Of course I understand, Grant. Good. I understand, first and foremost, that you are a coward.
Damn!
A coward, I said, sitting on your backside behind a desk for years, complaining about your fate without even trying to change a single thing about it.
Emotional, damn it!
As for being responsible, as you call it, it begins with doing your job properly, particularly when one is a doctor and caring for the poorest people within our society.
Damn!
The real life? Ha ha! Don't make me laugh. I am a doctor too, Grant, don't forget. And I'm ashamed of my profession when I see the state of this centre.
That rose could have burned all of Whitechapel down. Upon examination, it looks like the thug was infected by the same poison the Archbishop had. Seeing that it was taken via opium, we find the nearest den where the perps are relaxing. Whoa! Holmes! What are you doing? Did the Archbishop's death affect you that much? The police arrive before he can become 1890's Punisher, so it's off to our final location, the prison. It's currently being decommissioned, the only residents being Hans and the Flint brothers? Anyways, Hans says that the poison being used is incomplete since it's not supposed to kill its host so quickly. He says he'll tell us more if we give him his pen. It took a lot of shenanigans, but we finally did it. And then there's a prison fire right afterwards. Is that pen a miniature flamethrower or something? Watson helps free the guard trapped inside, and never mind, we inadvertently freed Hans. Or did we? Holmes brings us to Hans, who is entranced by the ink of his pen, which puts even the smartest of men into a hypnotic state. I won't go into detail about how Holmes managed to do it, but know that it took a lot of emotional manipulation and Mission Impossible levels of planning. Well, it was all for nothing since somebody took Hans the next day. But we're not out of options. There's a news tabloid, the Globe Explorer, that's been talking trash about Holmes, but it's pretty accurate trash. In fact, it's as if this Farley guy were there himself. We pay his office a visit and find out he had a visitor who escaped via a secret entrance. With the hat he left behind and some research, Holmes and Watson deduce Judge Beckett's identity and address. The first person to greet us is, surprisingly, Lucy from Holmes vs. Jack.
Holmes, you remember Lucy? We met her during our last investigation in Whitechapel, on the trail of Jack the Ripper.
I remember only the essential details of the case.
Okay, I'm starting to think that this is how the writers wanted Holmes to behave. Nothing about the Archbishop should have led Holmes to act like the intelligent jerk. Lucy gives us a way into Beckett's house, which is also a school run by his wife for lower-class children. After puzzles galore, we break into Beckett's vault and find documents that detail everything about Holmes' career. Holmes only cares about what's in the safe, but Watson isn't having it anymore.
So that is the real reason behind this break-in. You're only interested in the contents of the chest. All the rest of it was nothing more than lies and manipulation.
Frankly, I'm kinda with Watson. We've been observing Holmes' erratic behavior and haven't gotten a single clue as to why. Is this a Jack Bauer situation? Is he being threatened by somebody? The chest contents turn out to be a file. What kind? Only Holmes knows. We were about to cover our tracks, but Holmes tells us to get the crud out as Beckett arrives. For what reason? Only Holmes. Wait a minute. Holmes brought a package with him and left it on the table before the explosion. I'm not liking the implications here. Whatever the case, Holmes flees before he can explain, and Watson is left to keep Lucy alive. Afterwards, Holmes becomes Scotland Yard's most wanted criminal, and Watson's doubts start to accumulate.
I can't find my children, Doctor. Find them for me. But I beg you, keep them away from Mr. Holmes.
Lucy, no. Why do you say that? Let me help you.
You are so kind. It is too late for me, but you can still save yourself.
He doesn't want to believe what's happening, so he decides to track Holmes down. The trail leads to none other than...
Oh, but I know you. You with the moustache.
Danny. Why can't I escape you? She owns the tenement Holmes uses and won't let us in. Though one particular fact may help us.
Quiet and discreet, my Otellies. Just like me. And I, Danny the Anvil, 11 times champion of male wrestling in Whitechapel, I guarantee their peace and quiet.
Given her size, she probably took on a bunch of lightweights. We can try a whole number of arguments, which gives us an achievement, but Watson offering to paint her portrait is the one that works. She goes off to get her costume so Watson can look around Holmes' room. Some puzzle solving reveals that Holmes plans to leave for somewhere soon, but nothing hints at why. Then a couple of people come in. Can you guess which one is Holmes?
Your ridiculous accent and your filthy clothes don't fool me, Holmes. And what on earth have you been eating? Your breath could kill an ox at 10 paces.
Right, that's it. You're going to get a thrashing of your life.
Calm down, Mr. Hooper. I think that this young man may have mistaken you for somebody else. He obviously does not have a good memory for faces.
On the contrary, madam, everything is crystal clear to me.
Really? Well, in that case, follow me, young man. I want to show you something.
What? But, madam, please, what are you...
Calm down, Watson. It's me.
Holmes?
Well, now I know why there's an old lady disguise in Holmes Chapter 1. Holmes invites Watson along, and they head off to an old watermill. Holmes heads upstairs while Watson goes through the front door. Inside he finds...
Totem?
what people believe industrial era workers looked like. They're actually Russian anarchists who were hired to make the bomb to destroy Beckett's trove of evidence. Listening to them, they sound like the merry men from Crimes and Punishments, but they fit the story better. Who their employer is, they won't say, but they clearly fear him.
Giving you his name would be signing our death warrant.
Meanwhile, Holmes looks through the items upstairs, finding guns and documentation to bring foreigners into the country. With some ingenuity and Watson's help, Holmes can find the person the documents belong to. Clearly he's seen better days. Now, with all the evidence, Holmes decides to... burn it all down. Well, clearly the weapons can't fall into the wrong...
Holmes? What are you doing up there?
Sherlock Holmes is here? No.
I'm not staying
Nor
here.
am I. Help me out of here.
Don't move.
You think you can stop us? Sherlock Holmes is a dangerous man. I'm not hanging around here waiting to be killed by him.
Okay, that could still be any Sherlock Holmes, right?
You don't know what he's capable of.
Right? Well, Inspector Baines arrives and goes to face Holmes alone. With the body and the forged documents we found, I'm sure we could Gosh darn it, Holmes! Watson goes home and recovers, now doubtful that Holmes is innocent at all. However, Holmes followed him back.
You've driven me to this.
The police! Open up!
Okay. I'm confused. We went from Holmes nearly becoming the Punisher to being implicated in 2 crimes, and now he's taken the dreadful shortcut out of life. These scenarios don't have a discernible pattern. Watson isn't throwing in the towel though. There's one last lead to follow. A sewer that leads to what else but Holmes being alive.
Whee! Yes, he's alive! The bad guys had better watch out now. Grandpa's alive, and he is a good man. I knew that he was. Uh-oh, they're going to be sorry now. My grandpa rules.
Yes, and my grandpa saved him.
No. Just no. I refuse to believe that Holmes and Watson's grandchildren would ever grow up to become Chucky dolls. Though I am curious now. Watson having grandchildren I can understand. But Holmes, who did he capitulate with? Did Irene Adler get tired of her husband? Did she not get married in the Frogwares-verse? Was it that one woman Holmes fell in love with in the blackmailer story? Well, those questions aren't to be answered now. What will be addressed is Holmes's behavior.
First of all, I must apologize for the distress that this has caused you, and for my behavior, which was, I know, quite abominable. I can only hope that by the end of this explanation you will understand that I behaved in such a way only to protect you, and that it caused me great pain to see your trust and confidence in me ebbing away.
Seriously? That's like a vegan saying he only ate a ton of McDonald's to go undercover and get rid of their supersized meal. Wait. Who are we facing that made Holmes change his personality like this? Well, it's none other than Professor Moriarty.
We should not have taken pity on him in that Swiss asylum. Do you remember during the case of the Awakened? Our indulgence has cost us dear today.
Moriarty didn't like the hilarious move we pulled on him and has gone out of his way to implicate Holmes for the string of crimes. In reality, he's been responsible for everything with the help of Inspector Baines. But vengeance was the secondary goal. His primary objective is to seize England with Prince Woodville as a puppet. How the soup kitchen is involved isn't known yet, but answers may lie in a location found in Beckett's vault, an abandoned circus overlooking a factory. Splitting up, Holmes sneaks in and clears as many guards out as possible, while solving a couple of hard puzzles. Watson goes to check out the very functional factory, which is overseen by Hans Schielman. It becomes clear that Hans has perfected his derangement serum and is now adding it to the soup. The poor who eat it will go crazy and destroy everything, leaving Woodville and Moriarty in charge of the remnants. But how will Moriarty deal with the politicians? Well, that's where the anarchists come in. They've set bombs in key locations, and the only way to warn anyone is for Holmes to go inside Moriarty's HQ and stealthily get a telephone. While doing so, he overhears Moriarty taking orders?
Above all, don't get impatient. I'll do the necessary.
Moriarty is here. Apparently he is very busy, and this is curious. He seems to be obeying his interlocutor. Moriarty is a hired hand?
Holmes reaches the phone and Lestrade answers. We then need to solve a puzzle of colored dots to shut off all the bombs except for one, which Holmes and Watson intend to detonate in the factory. That sounds fine. So long as we have the element of surprise, then—
Hey! Hey!
They've seen us.
There they are, boss. In the cable car.
The esteemed Sherlock Holmes, back among the living.
Darn it! Well, if we can't get the bomb into the factory, then onto the roof will do. After offing a bunch of criminals, we head back to the manor to find out who exactly is—
Don't touch that door! Get back!
Holy crud. Maybe Moriarty's a dark mage. There's no way he could have gotten here within a short time span and with so much scarring. But tell me this. Can dark magic survive a frenzied Hans Schielman? I guess not.
I always tried to do my best for her. Only you are worthy to teach her. Take her.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute!
I don't know if my feelings could ever equal those of my friend. But as he walked off into the night, carrying that little girl in his arms, I confess that I had never seen him so moved. Holmes became the child's father. He gave her a gentle but exacting education. He finally realized, thanks to this child, the simple happiness that life could bring, and also something that had previously always escaped him: love.
You know what? The little girl's uncanniness now makes sense. It also puts Moriarty's motivation into perspective. He went from master criminal to shadowy politician so his child could grow up without wanting for anything. This is a dangerous mindset for any parent, but it gives Moriarty more depth than the movie version. That guy would swim in war money while the world burned. Still, it seems that Holmes gets the happy ending and fulfills Moriarty's request. It's why I titled the video The Intended Conclusion. Holmes becomes a father, and if they follow the books, will probably teach his granddaughter to keep bees. It isn't the end of Holmes' career. Do remember that Mystery of the Mummy is canonically further on in the timeline. He'll be telling his grandkid mummy stories later in life. Also, this version of events isn't over just yet. We still have The Devil's Daughter, which will elaborate on Holmes' parenting style. For now, I will say that the Testament of Sherlock Holmes is a pretty good game, but not the best. The puzzles are certainly easier, and you are still involved in the mystery solving. Yet, with Holmes' behavior, you are treated as an observer, and I still debate myself over whether the payoff was worth it. Still, I do like the story and how it ends, even if I question whether this was where the developers truly wanted it to end. And why the children look so uncanny. Thanks for watching. I know I usually go to a separate game to refresh my brain, but this wasn't too taxing. Still, please check out my other reviews and analyses if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time for the last game that takes place in the old Frogwares-verse. Sherlock Holmes, the Devil's Daughter. Scratch that, I need to talk about this first.